Well, that went about as well as I expected this weekend to go.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Patrick, a criminally addicted Texas Rangers fan and come to this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at PrizePicks. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about this absolutely dismal weekend in Toronto for the Rangers, their playoff hopes being more than on life support, a suspect bullpen, and a good day by Jacob deGrom being absolutely wasted. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Now, this was just an abject disaster of a weekend, salvaged from being just the worst possible version of what this weekend could have been. And despite the Braves sweeping the Guardians, who are ahead of the Rangers now in the playoff push, still both of which are outside of the playoff picture, this is just a horrible place for the Rangers to be. I mean, they headed into Toronto, who is the best home team in the American League, the best team in the American League. And for 2 days, well, for one day, they got their heart ripped out. The second day, they got their butts kicked. And the third day, the offense figured some things out and scored a whopping 10 runs in this one, and still wasn't really out of hand until the 9th inning, where the Rangers were able to just get a little bit of breathing room against these Toronto Blue Jays. This was a great day offensively for Texas on Sunday. I want to start with that because the rest of this stuff is not as fun to talk about. It's already a Monday, but I figure we start with the positive. The positive, first off, being Nathan Eovaldi still being absolutely incredible after a tough last outing. He bounces back. The only runs he gives up are a couple of solo shots to the Blue Jays. His ERA is still under 2 at a 1.76 after 7 innings of 2-run ball. Didn't walk anybody. He struck out 6, and he looked fantastic. The Rangers gave him a lot of run support. They did that early in this one, as opposed to waiting till they were down 6-1, like they were in the last game that Nathan Eovaldi started. The last time that they had won was the last time that Nathan Eovaldi had started, because this team has just been in such a dismal August since that trade deadline. But Nathan Eovaldi stepping up in a huge way. The Rangers bat stepping up in a huge way, not only doing well with runners in scoring position, going 3 for 5 with runners in scoring position. This team was just mashing the long ball, as they were all weekend long. All 5 of their runs on Friday's game came off the long ball, 3 off a long ball by Higgy, 2 off of a home run by Marcus Semien. He smashes another homer in this one. First runs on the board for the Rangers off a Marcus Semien homer, then Corey Seager homers in the 5th inning. Wyatt Langford gets in on the action. He now has a new career high with 17 home runs this year. Evan Carter puts one on the board just for good measure to give the Rangers a 6-run lead heading into the bottom of the 9th, which with how this bullpen was performing this weekend, you felt like they needed about a 36-run lead. But 6 was enough. 10 runs was enough in this one to get the victory. And it was a good day for Cody Freeman. Now, you look at his final line, you only see him going 1 for 5 with a double and 4 outs. But these were some quality at-bats for Cody Freeman, who I think is going to be starting the majority of games at third base for the near future. Now, Josh Young had an incredible hot streak whenever he got called back up, 10-game hitting streak, and he looked awesome. But since then has really cooled off a bit. And the Rangers just need every hot bat they can get. And Cody Freeman, I talked about it ad nauseum on Friday's show about how this was the hottest hitter in the minor leagues since he got sent back down. Sam Haggerty went on the IL with an injury. He allowed Cody Freeman to get called back up into that third base spot. Just a total baseball rat, a guy who will get the most out of his talent and is just a scrappy guy that you need. Every team needs somebody like a Cody Freeman on this squad. Josh Smith kind of fills that role a little bit, but Freeman, even more so, is just a total baseball rat. A great day offensively from Jonah Heim, who was in desperate need of a great offensive day. A 3-hit, 2 RBI day for Jonah Heim. He was clutch in those clutch situations. Marcus Semien with a 3-hit day. He has been quietly in a very, very bad hole offensively for the last 30 games or so. But this weekend, he didn't play on Saturday's game. He's been dealing with a little bit of a wrist injury. He was even dealing with that wrist injury. He said his wrist was about 70% when he hit that 2-run homer to give the Rangers that cushion in the Friday game, which they would ultimately blow. But the Rangers need their best bats to just be their best bats. Wyatt Langford seems like he's in the middle of a heater right now. That is just desperately needed. I mean, Semien and Seager both homered and hit doubles in this Sunday game. I mean, this was just them being at their best, and the Rangers desperately need them at their best if this team is going to claw their way back into it. I mean, they need their best players to be their best players. They need their worst players to be at their best selves. They need everybody just towing the line together to snap off a crazy long win streak, because the margin for error keeps on slimming down lower and lower and lower. And this team right now is still below 500. Look at their expected wins losses. This should be a team that is by far ahead of the AL West. I mean, they're 7.5 games out of the Houston Astros right now, but their run differential is nearly twice as good. It's because of these bullpen blowups that they keep having in this offense that just had kept underperforming. The offense mostly did its job this weekend. They scored enough runs to win on Friday. Saturday was just a day where Patrick Corbin could not get out of his own way, and John Gray came in and made it worse. We'll talk about John Gray and his injury, and also him going on waivers a little bit later on in this game. But this was not the offense's fault in this weekend series in Toronto. This was a bullpen and starting pitching fault that just was very, very difficult to overcome. I mean, if you want to blame the offense, the only way you could do that is maybe blame Rowdy Tellez and the 4 runs that he gave up pitching 3 runs that he gave up pitching in relief. He almost had a better line than Patrick Corbin. Patrick Corbin only got 1 more out in that game on Saturday than Rowdy Tellez did, and he gave up more than twice as many runs. Just a tough day at the office on the mound for the Rangers this weekend. Just truly an abysmal weekend where the Rangers now are sitting pretty far out of this postseason picture. They're 7.5 games out in the division. That is almost certainly not happening right now. There are two teams in between them and that third wildcard spot, just even being the next team out, let alone the New York Yankees. The Rangers are 5.5 games out of the final wildcard spot. It is just not a great spot to be in for this Texas Rangers squad. I mean, all the wild card spots are pretty bunched up close together. So the Rangers are 5.5 out of that third wild card spot. They're only 6 out of the second wild card spot or the first wild card spot. So, I mean, if you want to look at it on the bright side, that's kind of the best case scenario. And the Rangers have an opportunity against the 2 teams that are ahead of them, in between them and right out of that wild card spot in Kansas City and in Cleveland, who they are playing this week in what might be the 2 biggest series for any kind of playoff hopes to survive in the last, I don't know, forever. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. Whether you've got the eye on big-name quarterback or breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the game. You can just go pick just a few players, pick more or less on your favorite players and their stat projections to go ahead and get that win. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. The flex play is a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you still doubled my money. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. PrizePicks. Run your game. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back and talking about this first game of the series against the Kansas City Royals. A big opportunity for the Rangers to just claw back some kind of dignity in this postseason chase and a chance to get back to 500, a place where I said on Friday's show, maybe Thursday's show too, that I don't think they will ever be the rest of this season, because they are now sitting at 62 and 63. I thought at this point they'd be 62 and 64. I truly expected the Rangers to just go in and get absolutely lit up by this Blue Jays team, and that's not what happened. On Friday's game, the Rangers should have won that game. Another one of the games where the Texas Rangers should have won. I mean, their pitching staff shut out the Blue Jays for 6 innings. The Rangers had a 3-0 lead thanks to a massive Kyle Higashioka home run. Not a whole lot of offense for this Rangers squad. I mean, just 5 hits. They did have 6 walks, so they had base runners, but just weren't able to do all that much with them. Only 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. That one hit being a 3-run bomb by Kyle Higashioka. The Rangers bullpen just could not get out of their own way. Robert Garcia, again, allows a couple of runs, gets 1 out, and gives up 2 runs on a 2-run bomb. The Rangers are, though, pretty quick in pulling the trigger on getting him out of that game. Cole Winn comes in, pitches a scoreless 6th inning, head to the bottom of the 7th, down or up 3-0 for the Rangers. Now it's a 3-2 ball game. Sean Armstrong comes in. He gets a couple outs. No drama, finishes off that 7th inning. The Rangers still have a narrow 1-run lead. And in comes Danny Coulombe. He allows a trio of singles and then is pulled immediately for Phil Maton, who gets himself into trouble, walks a couple, and his one inning work. He does work around 2 strikeouts, but he allows all 3 of those, all 3 of Danny Coulombe's base runners ended up scoring because Phil Maton just could not get out of his own way. The Rangers go down and just are absolutely embarrassed in a game they had no business losing. Just absolutely no business losing. They go into that top of the 9th inning down just 1 run. I mean, the Rangers got a couple of runs back. Man, they got both those runs back they gave up in the bottom of the 7th inning. They got them back on a big swing by Marcus Semien in the top of the 8th inning. So it was back to being a 3-run ball game at that point. And you put in your 2 guys who you traded for, and Coulombe and Maton, and they just cannot get the job done. And it goes back to the planning of this bullpen. I commend Chris Young for trying something different, for trying to zag when everyone else is zigging in terms of how he constructed his bullpen. And that way being, what if I get guys who don't throw hard? What if I get guys with some nasty stuff who know how to pitch, but don't throw 98, 99, or sometimes even 95 miles an hour? And for the most part this year, in certain situations, it has worked. But the one place where it hasn't worked is in the later innings, in clutch games, in games where you have a narrow lead, you need to finish off a save. There is a reason why, for the vast majority of teams, they go out and get guys who throw 95, 97, 99, 103 miles an hour to be their closer. Because even when they're wild, you have that margin for error that velocity gives you. That's why Jacob deGrom has been so much better when he has added that velocity versus when he was, sitting 93, 94. It's much harder to hit stuff when it's coming faster at you. You literally just have less time to react to it. So a 99 mile an hour fastball right down the middle is much less likely to be absolutely belted and crushed than a 90 mile an hour fastball right down the middle. So when these guys miss, it is just pounded for extra base hits, for runs, or if they are not sharp with their stuff, they get walked because hitters have more time to react to their pitches. This is the slowest throwing bullpen. It's not like they're a little bit slower than the elite bullpens. This is the slowest throwing bullpen in baseball. And part of that is because those guys are less expensive. And for the most part, it's worked out this year. I mean, at times, Robert Garcia has been very good. At times, actually, really all year long, Sean Armstrong has been in the tree of trust of bullpen guys right now. Sean Armstrong, number 1. Cole Winn, probably number 2. Everybody else, very suspect at this point. And shout out to Cole Winn for earning his way into that tree of trust. He is not a guy who throws 99 miles an hour, but he sits in the upper 90s. He touches as much as 98. I don't know if he's touched 99, but he's definitely touched 98, sits around 95, 96 with, 6 quality pitches. that pitchability, that same kind of pitchability of guys like, Maton, guys like Coulombe, who are relying more on a whole bunch of different pitches to kind of confuse guys. It also works better when you've got, 98 in your back pocket, like Cole Winn does. But those guys that are on the trade block, like Ryan Helsley, like, David Bednar, they cost a whole lot more in prospect capital. So the Rangers were able to swing trades for guys like Coulombe and Maton without giving up as much in terms of the prospect capital. And you got to try something when you are hamstrung by your budget, trying to stay under that CBT, trying to stay under that luxury tax and, reset it and still maintain competitiveness. And for the most part, I mean, those first couple of games for Coulombe and for Phil Maton in Seattle, I mean, they looked incredible. They looked absolutely incredible for the first, 3, 4, 5 games. But since that meltdown in Arizona, I mean, these guys just have not been able to get out of their own way. Maybe if he left Danny Coulombe in there, then Coulombe could have worked himself out of that jam. Phil Maton seems extremely in his head at this point, and I just do not want to see him in any high leverage situations for the next, maybe forever, maybe forever. I don't know. It's just such an infuriating place to be, where the Rangers could have very easily taken 2 out of 3 games in this series. And the one that they didn't was just an absolute disaster for Patrick Corbin. I mean, he was just in such a rough way in this one, and 2 really great starting pitching performances for the Rangers this weekend, and one abysmal one. I mean, 5 shutout innings for DeGrom. I would think for at least now, he's going to stick around 5, 6 innings. I mean, maybe if the Rangers wanted to push him, could have gone for a 6th inning, and maybe that would have looked a little bit differently, but he only threw 84 pitches in this one to get those 5 innings. He looked better and better and better as he wore on in this game. 5 strikeouts, lowers his ERA back down to 2.76. I mean, still an incredible season. Not the, 2.2 ERA he had before his last couple of blow-up starts, but it's good to see him bounce back and kind of get himself back in that groove. I mean, DeGrom being still healthy at this point, still not having missed a start all season long, 24 starts, 140 innings on the year. Not what any of us expected. Not in the best case scenario did I think he would be here, especially let alone in August. I thought 140 innings and 24 starts would be beyond his capabilities, but I mean, he might go as high as, 160 innings pitched in just the regular season alone this year. He might get all the way up to, 28, or heck, he might even get to 30 starts. I don't know if he'll get all the way there, but if he does, oh my goodness, what an incredible achievement that would be, and would hopefully bode well for next year, because it looks like it's going to be wasted this year with how far this Texas Rangers team is out of it. I mean, they've gotten a lot more than they expected out of Patrick Corbin, but this start was just awful. And it's not just this start. It's been the entire month of August. Actually, it was a lot of the month of June. I mean, he was a lot better than anybody expected for those first 2 months at an ERA below 4 in both those first 2 months. And it jumped up quite a bit in June, where he was just getting lit up by, teams like, the Royals and like Baltimore 2 different times. Like really just one time that he got lit up by Baltimore, but he had an ERA north of 5 in that month of June. I thought, okay, are the cracks starting to form? Is this it for Patrick Corbin? If it is, then, still incredible job for being signed, 2 weeks before the regular season started with basically no spring training, just hops in there. It is just a competent, back half of the rotation pitcher. And then in July, he started to tick it up a bit. I mean, it is his best month of the season, a 2.3 ERA in 27 innings and 5 starts. I mean, averaging over 5 innings per start. He only had 1 game where he allowed more than 3 runs. And in that game, he allowed, or more than 2 runs. He allowed 3 runs. Only 2 of them were earned runs, though. And he looked really good against the Angels on the 29th. But then in this month, it's been 3 straight awful starts. I mean, this one was by far the worst of the bunch. I mean, the start against the Yankees, where he got lit up for 3 runs and got pulled before he could make it any worse. This one, he did not get pulled before he could make it any worse. And then the start against Philadelphia, where he gave up 3 runs in 4 1/3 innings, maybe he could have worked himself out of trouble a little bit. Those first 2 weren't abysmal, but they were not good. They were not what you're expecting from a guy in a rotation of a team that has playoff aspirations. And in this one, it was just abysmal. Maybe you chalk it up to Toronto's a really good team, and it's a really good offense, and it's a team that, saw him well on a bad day. And then, I mean, if you want to get really particular. He did allow only 6 runs when he was in the game, and then one of those runs was given up by Jon Gray, who may have pitched his last game in a Texas Rangers uniform and may have pitched his last game in just a major league uniform. We're talking about that and some unfortunate injuries the Rangers suffered this weekend. They're not just terrible on the field, but they might get some worse news off it. Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. They've also got odds on Major League Baseball. The Rangers to make the playoffs in 2025. To make the playoffs, they are a plus 470 to make the playoffs. They are minus 700 to miss the playoffs. FanDuel is not optimistic about the Rangers' chances to claw out of this hole. Right now, the Kansas City Royals, who are ahead of the Rangers in the standings, are plus 570 to make the postseason and minus 900 to miss it. The Rangers have better odds than the Royals, who they play against this week. And the Guardians to make the playoffs, they are at plus 370 and minus 520 to miss the postseason in 2025. All those teams just fighting for that final playoff spot and still quite a ways away. So visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your future bets now because FanDuel Futures Day is just one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Shout out to every day just making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. After every single game, Jeff Biggs is with you with a Locked On Rangers podcast live in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Now, this was not just a tough day on the field for the Rangers, but a tough day off of it. I mean, a tough weekend off of it. Jon Gray was placed on the IL. He was also placed on waivers. He has thoracic outlet syndrome, which is a shoulder injury, which could require surgery that would make him miss at least 7 to 8 months to possibly up to a year. This is what Cody Bradford dealt with in college the year that he got drafted. He pitched a couple months his final season at Baylor. It's possible to come back, but shoulder surgery is really scary for pitchers, more so than a Tommy John surgery. It might take you out less time to recover from shoulder surgery, but the long-term effects are much more up in the air. Now, Jon Gray is on the 4th year of a contract that he signed for 4 years, $56 million ahead of the 2022 season. So there's about $3 million left on Jon Gray's contract. So the Rangers placed him on waivers and he went unclaimed after the team put him on waivers, according to both Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic and according to Sean McFarland of the Dallas Morning News. Multiple sources were confirmed this report. And Gray, this is basically just a move to try and get back onto the luxury tax after the Rangers, I'm not going to say blasted into it, but just crept over it at this trade deadline, acquiring guys who had a little bit of money on their contract, nobody with huge contracts. So this could be a way for the Rangers to get under the luxury tax. It's all very confusing at this point because the reporting is inconsistent about how far into luxury tax the Rangers actually are or how much over it they actually were. There's also a chance they can put him on waivers again ahead of the August 31st deadline. All of it comes down to I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work out, but safe to say, even if it doesn't require surgery, it's 2 months before Jon Gray is going to come back at the very earliest. And that would be October 18th, 2 months from today. Maybe it's October 16th or 15th or what have you. But basically 2 months away, even if there is not surgery required to correct this injury in his shoulder. It's a little bit of dealing with, the blood vessels in his shoulder. It's a complicated injury to kind of get your head around. But thankfully for Jon Gray, he just hit 10 years of service time, which means all of his pension and benefits for being a major league player extend for the rest of his life. He hit that a couple of months ago. I believe right after being called back up after coming back from this broken wrist that derailed his entire season. I mean, if not for that, then I don't know where this Ranger team would be. Maybe it would be Jon Gray making a start every other 5th day and they just wouldn't have signed Patrick Corbin. I'm not not entirely sure. I thought that maybe John Gray would be fighting for a rotation spot. Now that has not been the case. He's had an ERA north of 7 because he came in on Saturday, and it just got worse. John Gray pitched 2 1/3 innings, just as many as Patrick Corbin. He gave up 4 hits, 3 walks, 2 home runs, and 4 total earned runs. Luis Carvello came in and kind of calmed things down, pitching a shutout inning and a third before Rowdy Tellez finished off the final 2 innings because the Rangers only had to pitch 8 innings because they lost on Saturday, but still, only one pitcher of the 3 actual pitchers came in and was able to not allow any runs in that game. It was just brutal to watch. Just brutal to watch that game on Saturday. Just absolutely no let up by this Blue Jays team that, I'm done doubting. This is a good team. Also, just kind of shows how bad of a day you're having when Miles Straw, who had 2 home runs on the entire season, came in and had 2 home runs in this game. Not a power hitter by any stretch of the imagination. He went 4 for 5 with 5 RBIs and 3 runs scored in this one. Just not exactly what you're looking for a guy who's just completely glove first, was completely a contract dump by the Cleveland Guardians, sending him to Toronto. And he has been pretty awful for the last, outside of the first month or so where Miles Straw looked awesome offensively, he has been pretty abysmal offensively for the last, 3 months of this season. But hey, he had himself a day against a Rangers team that was just not on its game. And this wasn't the only injury that happened this weekend. St. Haggerty was placed on the 10-day IL, and Jake Berger, who has not officially been placed on the IL just yet, he came out early on Saturday's game after driving in the only 2 runs in that game for the Rangers. So it was only 2-14 as opposed to 0-14 in that Saturday game. But Berger is dealing with a sore wrist. He came back into the game. He started on Sunday and then was pulled pretty quickly for Zeke Duran. He's undergoing an MRI in his wrist. He's back in Texas. He has not traveled to Kansas City. He is going to miss a minimum of 2 to 3 days, but he is optimistic that it is just going to be those couple of days and there will not be an IL stint required. That'd be good because the Rangers need his bat, especially if he's hot like he was on Saturday. A 3 for 4 day with a couple of ribbies and a walk as well. The Rangers need every bat that they can get, every bat on their game that they can get. It seems like we're going to see quite a bit of Rowdy Tellez moving forward. It seems like we're not going to see as much of Jock Peterson. I don't know. We'll see exactly what this lineup looks like moving forward. There's a lot of moving pieces and moving parts in this game, and I think that we're going to see quite a bit of Cody Freeman because if you got a hot bat, you got to ride the hot bat. You have absolutely got to ride that hot bat, no matter who it is, whether it's, Marcus Semien, whether it's Jake Berger, whether it's Cody Freeman, whether it's, Seager or Langford or Smith or Rowdy Tellez. You just got to get as many hot bats in this lineup as physically possible because you are so far out of it right now. The margin for error is nothing. There is no margin for error. The Rangers have 13 games between now and the end of the month. And these next 10, they've got 10 games before they have an off day. And then they finish out the month with 3 games in West Sacramento, Yolo County against the A's. They got 4 games in Kansas City against the Royals. And they come back home for 3 against the Guardians, who they are also trailing in the wildcard standings. And then they got 3 games against the Angels, who are kind of hot right now, but are not a good team. The Rangers in the next 13 games basically have to win 10 of them, if not all 13, to just keep themselves in it heading into the final month of the season, because these are the last easy-ish games that the Rangers are going to get, and these are not even easy games that the Rangers are going to have. Then you go back, you go to Arizona to start September, and then it starts off just a murderer's row of a 2-week stretch where the Rangers have 3 games at home against Houston, 3 games at home against the Brewers, who just cannot lose right now. And then they have a road trip in the middle of September where they play 3 games against the Mets in Citi Field, who the Mets have been just absolutely awful for the last 2 months, kind of pull themselves out of the postseason or pulling themselves out of the postseason chase. And then they got 3 games in Houston. So in a 2-week stretch, the Rangers play the Houston 6 games. They play 3 games against the Brewers, who are just unstoppable right now. And then they play 3 games on the road anywhere, which they are bad on the road anywhere, against the Mets. And before that, they play 3 games in Arizona against a Diamondbacks team that just ripped their souls out, last week. I mean, this is a team in dire need of stacking up some wins. Then you finish out the regular season. That's the first half. That's the first 17 days of September. And then you can finish out the season with 3 games against the Marlins, who are not good, 3 games against the Twins, who sold off everybody and their mother, but still found a way to scrap together some wins. And the final week of the season is 3 games against the Twins, and then 3 games on the road in Cleveland against the Guardians, who hopefully by then the Rangers will have passed and will be fighting for that final spot. I thought Cleveland would be well out of it at this point. They're not. They're not by any means, even though they have a negative run differential, which I don't know how that's happening, but it's also just a very Cleveland Guardians thing to do. I mean, all that stacking up, I still think the Rangers don't get back to 500. Like I really don't. I mean, it's possible. They are not mathematically eliminated from the postseason just yet, but it feels like it. I mean, the Rangers, according to Baseball Reference right now, have a 15% chance to make the postseason and a 1.3% chance to win the World Series. Again, if they get there and if they get Tyler Mahle back and healthy, because you put in a playoff rotation right now, there's no way in heck we're seeing Patrick Corbin get a start in a postseason game in his current state. Even whatever version of Tyler Mahle is going on the mound is better than what we would see from Patrick Corbin in a postseason start, should the Rangers even get there. But they need a miraculous winning streak together. This is a team that has the talent to go on that kind of a miraculous winning streak, and the teams that they are playing from now until the end of the month are not good. They are not good baseball teams. This is a Ranger team that is better than them, but record-wise has been worse than these two that they're going to face for 7 games this week. If the Rangers don't win at least 5 out of 7 games this week, they're done. They are absolutely super done. I still think they're done. I still think their postseason chances should be at 0 with how poorly they've been since that trade deadline, but they're not out of it just yet. But boy, howdy, do they need a miracle or 2 or maybe 17 at this point to get back in it. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.